We're gonna be making another video. I'm ready. So, Audio Technica ATH AD-900X's, the Air series. You may recognize these depending on how long you've been here on Earth. Their design has not truly changed. The only thing that has, and again, this is not me saying you're old or young or whatever, but just know if you've been here long enough, paying attention to the Audio Technica line years back, the only thing that's changed is this is open back. This isn't a closed back dynamic. The Air series apparently has one of the most amazing, okay? Amazing soundstage and mid-range clarity. If anything, these also have one of the best imaging. And I wanted to talk about that. So I've owned the 500s, and I've only owned these as well, 900s and the 500s. And we'll be comparing both of them together in terms of sound, and then comparing these to other headphones in the same price point, which would be something like the Sony 7506 or the DT880s or the 770s. So these are a modded headphone. They do have a detachable cable, which I bought from a dealer on eBay. He did a really good job. I appreciate that I can buy these headphones. Like, that's the thing I really like, is I want to look for the modded version, because typically these with the attached cable are just horrific. So the fact that he made these detachable, thanks so much for doing all the hard work for me. Build. These things are light. Like, they're just, oh my god. They're so light. These things are crazy. Very, very high clamp force. I actually been bending mine because I prefer a heavier clamp on my head. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's why it may look a little bit weird at the top there. They don't normally look like that when you buy them. These aren't also the original pads either. These are a kind of like fluffy velour pads that are kind of borderline similar to, almost borderline similar in feel to the T1 pads that are on by default. This grill is actually different once you start to hit the 900. The text becomes gold. The label becomes separated and also gold. The inside just looks a lot more pretty on the driver end, but everything else is not different. It's a light headphone. It's an airy headphone. It's a bright headphone. It's not dark. I'm gonna plug these in. I'm gonna do the most devilish thing, and that's just to take off the, oh my god, unleash the beast. Plug these into tubes, which you typically wouldn't want to do for very low impedance headphones, but I mean, why not, right? So let's power these up, put these on. When I compare these to AKGs, well, actually, let's compare to the 500s. It's a noticeable jump. It's a noticeable jump in clarity. Even on stock pads, the seller was kind enough to include not only these aftermarket pads, but also the stock pads. So I have been able to listen to them both. And the 900Xs compared to the 500Xs, there's just a lot more detail on these, but there's not really any change in terms of imaging or soundstage. And on top of that, I think that's really it. So that's not enough for sound, isn't it? Let's start to compare these to other headphones. I would say that these don't have as much of mid-range clarity as something like a Sextet or the DFs. If anything, I should compare them to the DFs as a reference. Because oddly enough, it was thanks to these headphones where I had the sudden realization of that difference of soundstage and how it can take away from mid-range clarity. And it's because this was actually one of the headphones, well, headphone lines that Z Reviews or Zeos does actually recommend to put Alpha Dog pads on. So let's just quickly get those pads from the DFs for you real quick so you can take a look at that. It'll be kind of weird as the music cuts up. Should have just left it unpaused. But here are the AKG K240 DFs. Now, the reason why I want to bring these out is because that's something I wanted to talk about in terms of driver capacity and capability for pad swapping. So that's the thin side, it's the front, and then the big, fat, thick side on the back. Okay, these are angled drivers, so it's going to force the drivers to be like this on your head, which is supposed to add to soundstage. The beauty of these headphones is that at their price, these are angled drivers. That's an angled driver. You can probably see that already. That is when it's flat on you, and if I turn that upside down, it's kind of weird to just take my word for it. These are angled drivers. So if we put the pads on those, you're angling them even more. And it adds to soundstage. It does. And the thicker pads that make them wider do add to soundstage. But the drivers are not capable of holding it. They can't hold the detail. And that's something that the DFs are capable of. When you start to widen the soundstage artificially using distance from a pad, these things just sound wider. But clarity in the mid-range does not change. What's interesting with these lower end drivers, the 500s, the 700s, the 900s, the 1000s, they may not benefit from the Alpha Dog pad swap. But they don't fall short when they're using the same size, the same distance. They still have a clarity to them that is miraculous. A soundstage and soundscape that is, for lack of a better term, very explorative. It has wonderful imaging, location of instrument and vocal, if there is vocals amongst the sounds. And it definitely does lack in the bass. Again, open back dynamics is not the most ideal for trying to trap bass, but that is something that the pad swap was able to do. When I put these on the 900Xs, they did just like the 500Xs. They said, "Hey Seth, you know, I heard you were complaining about the low end. You want me to remind you that I can do it?" These can. And they have a texture to them that's beautiful. And the open back design means that they bleed like hell. So, cool. Open back dynamics. You're probably getting from the video already. Don't go for the 900s. Go for like the 2000s or go for the 5000s if you have the budget and the money. I would say that my end game for Audio Technicas would be the 2000s. My dream would be to get the 5000s. But the 2000s, I think, is where you should aim for. Because the build, something I didn't talk about actually besides just the labels and stuff, it's plastic, metal. This is metal, plastic, flimsy. It's light, which is what you want out of these kind of headphones, for them to be light, which is understandable. It's understandable, but they don't speak confidence. That's something that I like saying lately. But they definitely are not a headphone where if you drop them, you're going to be the most happy child who received headphones. But their sound. No sharp highs. It's a tight bass. It's nothing muddy and gross. And the mid-range clarity is something that still comes through very well, even on the tube. Let's switch this into Magni. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these things. Like, if you can get these used, I would say go for it. If they're like gonna be your first headphone, entry level headphone for audiophile listening. If these are gonna be your little taste of what it means to have decent imaging, or what it means to have an open back dynamic headphone. Like, what is the deal with open back dynamic headphones? Like, these would be the headphones that I would actually recommend to experience that for the first time, or to suggest to a friend to consider looking for as well. Again, I think the lineup is old and it may not be as accessible, or it's accessible but COVID prices may be making it hard for you to afford them. But if you do get lucky, which is something I always say, because again, a majority of the headphones I buy are used. I don't buy these brand new. There's just no way I would have been able to. If you're capable or able to get lucky and find these used, I would say that they are worth it. If you can't stand the highs, or possibly the reviews speaking about that sheen, or that kind of like weird brightness of Bear Dynamics, or possibly the shouty nasal qualities of typical AKGs, well, especially the modern AKGs, not the old ones, which never had that sound in the first place. But these are laid back headphones for enjoyment. I wouldn't mix and master with these. They're super light, economical, and they make me happy. Detachable cable, everything. I'm happy these are modded. Thanks again to the guy who sold this to me. I will take good care of these, and I will definitely cherish them in my collection of basically what open back dynamics are out there that can combat some of the other big names. And I know that Audio-Technica is a big name, but you typically will not see the Air series often as a magnetic planar or a Bear dynamic open back headphone. So thanks for watching this video. That's my thoughts and opinions and sound comparison, perceivable for me, of course, of these things. Just know these videos are not be all and end all. Everybody hears differently and everybody enjoys sound differently, so you may or may not enjoy these. I may be just BSing for all you know, but I would say that I can't wait till I get 2000s, because if this is what the 900s and the 500s sound like, imagine what the 5000s or the 2000s sound like. So thanks for watching, take care, I'll see you guys in the next one.